Randy, welcome to my residence. A special welcome, of course, to our guests in Milan, Mr. Tuan Nguyen, my pleasure, and to
Hello.
Roberto Archetti. It's been a while.
Hi.
Ciao, Roberto. Preliminary introduction of this conversation. As you all know, Vietnam is experiencing an unprecedented dynamism in quality design and creative industries in general. They both are design and creative industry crucial for economic growth. For Italy, quality design is so much more than a very relevant component of our GDP. It is also a driver for attracting talent, but also an agent of soft power, able to make our country popular and visited, not only for the many exhibitions we host in the sector, which are among the most relevant at the global level, such as the Milan Fashion Week or the Salone del Mobile for furniture design or Vicenza Oro for jewelry. But being design as such an intrinsic quality of Italy's image abroad, the Italian institutions are committed in contributing to push the envelope of quality design everywhere in the world, and Vietnam makes no exception, of course. And we, as Consulate General of Italy, along with the Embassy of Italy in Hanoi, the Italian Trade Agency, the Italian Chamber of Commerce, UniItalia, the promotional agency for Italian universities, are committed in contributing to push Vietnamese design and design industry to the next level in all sectors: fashion design, architecture, cultural heritage, industrial design, etc., etc. We do so through the exchanges of best practices, the organization of seminars, the participation and support to design events, reviews, exhibitions, fashion shows taking place in Vietnam, but elsewhere, and involving Vietnamese and international stakeholders, as many of you know, being our friends and followers of our activities. Of course, I need to acknowledge the contribution of Tuan Nguyen firm of L Decoration Vietnam, of QuickCom by Beowulf for making this connection with Milan possible, and of course the support of District 8 in the literal sense, because we are sitting on the beautiful steeled armchair designed by Tuan Nguyen and realized by District 8. So a very quick introduction of our speakers today. Ms. Tuan Nguyen is an experienced lecturer with a demonstrated history of working in the design industry, skilled in design management, typography, art direction, editorial design, communication design, a strong education professional with a master's degree focused in visual design from Scuola Politecnica di Design at Milan, and design management from Savannah College of Arts and Design, USA. She's currently working as managing editor for L Decoration Vietnam, and she is board member of the EDIDA, L Decoration International Design Awards in 2017, 18, 19, and 20, and board member of ASUI Awards 2019, 2020. Welcome, my dear friend. Mr. Darren Chu, who's District 8 Creative Director, a Sydney-born designer, arrived in Saigon more than 20 years ago. Since then, he co-founded Unavailable, a garment manufacturing company that is working with premium brands like Saturday's, New York City, Drew, Palace. Not long after, he co-founded and designed Luzine, a chain of industrial Indochine cafe and concept stores, and then District 8, a furniture brand with a simplistic and contemporary aesthetic. Darren's unique perspective on Vietnam and its cultural dynamics has guided District 8's design to inherit a distinctive Oriental influence, integrate sustainable craftsmanship into local workforce, and adapt to international standards. District 8's global recognition and performance to this date is the affirmation of his innovative thinking and creative vision. Mr. Roberto Archetti, District 8's brand director. He has a consolidated and lifelong experience in the field of design and luxury. Since 1988, he has collaborated with Poltrona Frau, and is most well known for his role as brand director of Poltrona Frau SPA. His expertise expands across the most crucial stages of the brand, such as product innovation, research and development, global sales, marketing, and contract division. After that, Mr. Archetti established his own consulting company and joined District 8 as brand director. His impact on District 8 is immense, as he brings not only great insights and knowledge, but also bridges the international design community closer to the brand. Evidently, the collaboration with designer Tuan Nguyen and more to come in 2021. And last but not least, the award-winning designer Tuan Nguyen. Tuan was head of Antonio Citteriu's design department, with whom for nearly 10 years he was design line for, among others, Axel Hans Grohe, B&B Italia, Floss, Itala, Cartel, Technogym, and Vitra. In 2009, he founded his own studio in Milan, subsequently embarking on a series of successful collaborations with several major brands in high-quality industry and fine craftsmanship in Europe, North America, and Asia, on furniture, lighting, ceramics, as well as on technological products. Tuan Nguyen's creative individuality has been acknowledged by flagship contemporary design brands such as District 8, The Don, Laufen, Bugatti Home, Fendi Casa, Coalesse, Technion, Studio TK, Bibbia, Picarpe, Walter Knoll, Lemma, Busnelli, among others, and a substantial number of whose creations have been awarded prestigious international prizes. So before starting the conversation, actually, to start the conversation, we have a presentation by Tuan Nguyen, right?
Yes, exactly, because it's always difficult to present myself differently than with my product. So I think this image is a small slideshow of just some example of what we do. I think it speaks much better than any words, and I prefer that the product present myself than myself.
So please, the floor is yours. Oh, amazing. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Maybe this can drive me to first question to you. A question that I wanted to raise in this conversation. So where do you find your sources of inspiration? I mean, inspiration is driven by arts, history, cultural reference. Of course, one owns the ground. But of course, as a designer, you need to innovate to create or to help contribute and create a sustainable industry, a sustainable design. So, and this imply a challenge in keeping up the pace with our times. So, where do you get now the sources of your inspiration?
But first of all, it's a very often it's a question I receive. It's always difficult to give one specific source, but my work as as a designer is really related to the work with the company I work with. So I'm not an artist. I work only on commission with specific client, and it's the starting point for me is really this relation with the company. So obviously I need to find a common vision to share a project, and there is something which is very personal in this, no, and this is very difficult for me to work with a company. I don't feel there is any more bigger relation than the business, and this is not enough. So everything for me starting with talking with the people. It's not the inspiration doesn't come from the sky or the birds singing or the shower. Maybe this is moment when I started thinking about the project. But the first point to me is arriving like a sponge and coming like I met Darren and Roberto and try to absorb as possible, no, of what I can collect to build a story together, because I believe completely in the project, a collective project. I don't believe in the project which come by myself, and I'm always in difficulty if I have the white paper and I have to do whatever I want without any objective. So the first thing for me, it's really to understand the company, the specificity of the company, the roots, the point where we're in common, no? Because obviously with Darren, we have some. First of all, we have a common point that we have half Asian both. So obviously, he created very quickly a connection. Roberto is in Italy. I'm living in Italy, so everything was starting like an open discussion in three with all three very different background, but at the same time, this project was a collective project, and this is what was for me the starting point of it. So yes, it's really case by case. So I don't have any recipient. I don't have any tip. I start with a project. I've got a protocol. Unfortunately, it never works like this. And this is, I think, the difficult and the good part of this work. No, and
this is very interesting, Tuan, because it leads me to another topic, and maybe I could ask Roberto, with his long experience in his career in luxury furniture. It looks to me that observing luxury furniture industry in general, and especially the Italian experience, the greatest design is not always thanks to talented designers, but also thanks to visionary entrepreneurs. So Toan was mentioning that he felt immediately at his age with you and Darren. So there is a story behind. So could you tell me if this was the case in the evolution of Italian industrial design as you experienced? If this combination of talented designers and entrepreneurs was the winning formula, and if it's replicable in other markets or in other experiences?
Win-win situation is due to the opportunity to a strong cooperation between design.
Roberto, we might have some problem in the connection, so just stay there until they try to solve. Can you hear me? Yeah, possibly. So, but turning to this question, maybe I could ask Darren, because it's really something that I experienced in my career, also in other occasions. Um, Really, one of the best compliments I get to the Italian industrial design industry as a whole was from a designer, an English one, who was present at a seminar in London, and he said that when he works with Italian companies, he's so happy because when he has an idea and the company is in definitely endorsing this idea, it just takes a few weeks to realize the prototype and to go into the market and make it happen. So, what kind of entrepreneur are you? Are you quick in getting a new inspiration? Are you giving direction to the designer, or you are more absorbing their experience and or you need to reflect on the line, on a product, on what is happening?
Well, this is the first collaboration we've ever done, so I don't think I knew it at the start. And Roberto was the one that really brought this thing together and guided us through it. We were lucky to have one. As he said, we had a good relationship from the start, and we really discussed how the collection is going to work. This collection here was developed in Italy, and so this was really important for us to learn the process over there and bring those skills back to Vietnam. That's how I originally met Roberto, was because at Disreate we were trying to learn how to improve our upholstery. And I was introduced to Roberto and brought him out to Vietnam. You seem to be driving the development yourself, where it was nice to have Roberto's experience and the experience of the team in Italy to learn from.
Sure, thank you. And this leads me maybe to another topic I would ask wrong about it. The comment of Darren in okay, we developed the line in Italy. We needed to bring to Vietnam some the upholstery capacity. Another consideration that I've made, observing, of course, our industry, the Vietnamese industry, that it's difficult to have great design if you don't have, especially in interior decoration, if you don't have excellence in craftsmanship. So, what would you think the Vietnamese design industry need? More international exposure, from your standpoint? I mean, observing so many players in the market, so many talented designers. More international exposure, more transfer of technology or craftsmanship for the way to be, more marketing, more capacity to be on international stages. What is your view about that?
So your question being, what is my view about the importance of craftsmanship and how it translate from the big scale of projects like this one to the local landscape. Well, I think first of all, a premium product anywhere, it would need craftsmanship, because it's actually the final touch that gives the soul to the product. And we are not only buying product, we are buying stories. So, and I think in Vietnam, we are super proud of our craftsmanship and our heritage. Over so many years, we have so many villages in Vietnam who each of them, develop a very specific set of skills. And then, all of them, each of them can actually contribute to the inspiration and the starting point of a certain project. So I think we have a very good starting point as the inspiration. But then, on the other hand, on the practicality of the production, we also have, many factories that for the last 20 years have been producing excellent quality products, but only to export. So I think I'm not sure if Darren shared the same view with me, as many factories and many big Vietnamese furniture companies actually looking into bridging the gap between these two very promising and potential, direction, value that we have, and then into combining and bringing out the better quality products.
Yeah, I definitely think that Vietnam has a lot to offer in terms of craftsmanship. We have some really interesting skills like weaving, casting, ceramics. It'd be nice to see those crafts get promoted internationally, as well as in the design here in Vietnam.
Coming back to Roberto, maybe would you agree, Roberto, that one of the factors in the success of the industrial design in Italy was the capacity, the craftsmanship quality in our country? And again, what is your comment about the combination between talented designer and visionary entrepreneurs?
I was extremely surprised when I visited for the first time District 8 company and I met Darren. Thanks to my background and my experience, I recognize that in Italy, the end craftsman level is extremely high, and the attention that the passion every level inside the company.
I have some problem with Roberto.
Do you hear me?
Now, yes, now we can.
When I visit the District 8 factory, I recognize the same soul. The people, Darren was so clever to organize his company extremely under the rational process. All manufacturing phases are well divided, and all people are working in every sections are very, very proud to work on the product. Because I think that probably we lost what I say before. The product is the final result of the good feeling between but not only the company, but with the worker. I recognize the extremely proud feeling of every design and technical team inside the District 8 as soon as they start to work on the prototype in order to create the new product. This is, for me, the great success for the product. Thanks to this opportunity, to this kind of work, the people will reach the final target because they are working and working on the same direction. This is between the experience in Italy and in Vietnam. I never been in Vietnam before 2 years ago. So, but I recognize that it is an amazing country, and I like to work with the people because I recognize the same Western approach. It's amazing. It's great.
That's an incredible a statement from your side, and very true, of course, living here, which leads me to ask Tuan this time, whether you feel, being a designer, probably in Italy, one of the expansion, maybe also in France and in other Western countries, the expansion of quality industrial design was driven by the growth of the middle class. Do you feel the same for Vietnam, the same experience, or do you have the same feeling for Vietnam? I would ask this question to you as well. But Tuan, what's your feeling?
Yeah, I'm sure I'm the right person because I'm actually I'm half Vietnamese, half French, living in Italy and working from a Vietnamese company driven by an Australian, half Chinese guy. So my point of view would be:
who's the buyer of your products? Who's the typical buyer of your pieces?
But my goal is that there is no typical buyer of my product. In fact, just give you a small example. I have asked last year to start a huge project of entry-level product for sanitary wear, now for a big company. And we will show it hopefully soon at the beginning of next year. And at the beginning, the people said, yeah, but your experience with Fendi cars, you're working a lot in luxury, and you feel comfortable with a product where we've got a lot of cost question and so on. And I said, of course, because it was not my choice actually to work on a high-end luxury furniture field. Obviously, it's very interesting because you've got a lot of space for experimentation, for high-level craftsmanship to exaggerate everything which is part of the culture of craftsmanship in Italy. But there is a different way of doing this, and it could be from very affordable to the high end. So the funny thing is doing design is working in different fields and different target. But the last thing I would like to is to be focused only on extremely rich people with a huge villa and Bel Air and LA and whatever. So I think the design is a culture. It's not connected to how much you pay it, because you find from the very dynamic company who make it much cheaper, and obviously it's a question of what you get for what you pay it for it. No, and obviously the first focus was in high end, because it's obvious that it's more easy to develop special skills, to have people involved, like in Italy, very skilled. But I think it is possible to do it at different level. And the important thing, I think, is the intention and the originality of the design, because after we can afford the copy side of this field is, if it's original, it can start to be also low price, medium price, high price. The important thing is, I think, at the beginning is if the product is trustable, is true, and is made with sense and with sustainability in any sense.
Absolutely, that is very true, and it's in the intrinsic nature of industrial design, right? To be democratic or to be serial in a way. But again, what do you see from your standpoint, Wong, about Vietnam? What are the driving forces towards quality design in Vietnam now? It is not the rise of the middle class, because of course we already debated about the fact that that design can be everywhere. What is the driving force of quality design in Vietnam now?
I think the biggest driving force of quality design in Vietnam is still the audience, because the middle class is in Vietnam is considered the fastest growing in Southeast Asia, and the majority of them are millennials and some early Gen Z. So they are lifestyle and design oriented people, and they and from my from my point of view, I think let's genuinely good design actually blur the line between high class audience and the middle class and the lower one a little bit. For example, I'm not super rich, but I will pay much more than I can, but still to own a very good design. For example, so I mean, young people nowadays are very they care a lot about good design, and they should be your inspiration and client inspiration, because they are the ones who will buy.
Yeah, but stay with me on that, because one other question, very important, that I have is that, of course, I had the chance to participate in many discussion and conversation about design in Vietnam, and of course there is a general sense that Vietnam should be able to present its own design better in international stages. But my question is, because I always wondered, should Vietnamese design be recognizable? Meaning, if I go to a Vietnamese fashion show, should I always see an house eye, or can I just see something new, or the Vietnamese design could contribute in a different way with different sources of inspiration to the global quality design? What is your feeling?
But what is your perception right now about Vietnamese design? What is your observation so far?
Well, there is still in between. I mean, that is, and possibly this, how to say, these two different forces are in a way slowing Vietnam to be more present on international stage. So, of course, your comment, Darren's comment about Vietnam pride in craftsmanship, but it's also in heritage, is very well accepted, and we basically founded initially our industrial design on our heritage, definitely. But could you really say that there is an Italian recognizable design nowadays? Could you say so?
Of course.
You could say so. If you see an object, if you see a dress, if you see a pair of shoes, you can see that is an Italian design. You can, right?
Yes, I can.
But how, from some aesthetic, or from the craftsmanship, from the quality, and what Vietnam should pursue in that?
I think, wow, it should leave to the producer, the production side.
Well, we can ask this question to everyone, of course.
I think I can answer one part of that. Is like, I think you were talking about Italian design, but if you look in Europe, you look at Scandinavian design, and Scandinavian design is a little bit more homogenous, and you have a particular look to it. I don't think that Vietnam has to look that way. I think Vietnam has an opportunity to find its own look. And I think that's also what I like about Italian design. They're really, you can go around the show and you'll see a lot of different things. They try different things. There's elements of other trends through it, but they're leading the trend, not really following it. It'd be nice to see Vietnam, use the craft that they have, use the skill sets and the inspiration of the local architecture, the influence of, say, Chinese architecture, French architecture here. It'd be nice to see all of that in the Vietnamese design, but it doesn't have to all look the same.
So we need a new mindset.
Yeah, and I think that's what the new young designers that are coming through, I think I'd prefer them to not look so much at, say, Pinterest or Instagram, but look at what is around in the city and what we have in the country.
And this leads me to a question to Roberto, maybe. Based on your experience,
sorry if I interrupt you, but I'm strongly convinced that the memories, the cultural memories of the Vietnamese company and the Vietnamese design in the future has to be carried out in every part of the world. Because we talk very often with Darren how is the best design for this decade. Because if you hire or started to cooperate with the European design, and then if the combination, if the synergies between designers and the company, but not the company as the manufacturer, but the culture of the company, not create something else quite different of the rest, the risk is that you became another European company, just made in Vietnam, with the risk that the market require a lower price because it comes from Far East. This is the opposite side. It's necessary to work in the same way, having the memory of the. I think as soon as I met the District 8 collection, thanks to a good friend of mine living in London, but is immediately recognized a different character, and this is the fuel of the progressive opportunity to go inside the Western American European market. It's not easy, of course, but the identity of the company, not only to the low labor cost, but for the culture of the company, as to be maintaining life for the to be present in the future market or the broad. Because every product designed by Darren or designed by Toan is has always a distinct aspect of the Vietnamese culture. Probably is the French romanticism aspect with some, as Darren already say, American approach, style and feeling. So this is the right combination that this is for me, it could be the best base to grow up in the other countries.
We can ask, we have the natural person to ask to. So Tuan, how do you articulate these origins, these sources of inspiration into the steel collection for District 8?
But it was, first of all, it was a difficult point because I had to, it was the first project where I had to take out the Vietnamese origin myself. But at the end, it came quite naturally without being forced. And I think this is the general message, because I think if the company, District 8, or the Vietnamese company, has to be proud of being Vietnam and to produce in Vietnam, but it doesn't mean that they have to be a caricature of Vietnam and try to show really evident signs, because otherwise you fall in something which is very not so interesting. And if, as Roberto said, no, is District 8 or another company is clear with its own origin, it doesn't have to feel uncertain and any complex, because it's already inside, so you don't have to express it too much. So, like everything, I think everything is every sign is nice when it's just subtle and you read it. If you take care of a product, but you don't have it like this, no, splash in your face and you see it. Darren mentioned first of Scandinavian company. Sometimes I feel they are fear about this and they have only Scandinavian design as like they want to be between themselves and to be 100% guarantee of Danish or Scandinavian design. Italy, where I'm living, is a step further, because there is, I mean, Roberto will tell you that most of the design today are foreigners. So it's very international in terms of design. And I think every designer doesn't think, okay, let's make it very Italian way. I think it's becoming Italian because it is Italian, not because it has to be Italian, no? And the same for the company. So it's a question probably of maturity of market, but if the guideline is to be Vietnamese and to see it's Vietnamese, I think it's going in the wrong direction. So I think if it is truly, and the company where District 8 had already its roots and its culture, and as mentioned, Darren did all the design until now, and it built. So it's not starting from scratch and saying what we do now. It's already a company with a story, with some clear decision, some vision, and this is what I think is expected in the market. It's not expecting to be from Vietnam. I don't need to see made in Vietnam. I think it's design is global, but at the same time needs the roots. But this roots has to be, I think, very subtle and not a show off and not eye candy.
Very, very interesting. And this brings me to Tuan. I mean, they both told, Tuan said at the beginning that it was, of course, his capacity to, the combination between his design and Darren's vision to create a storytelling with the collection. And he also mentioned that, of course, you should be able to reflect your sources of Vietnamese sources of inspiration in your design, but not to be caricatural. Yeah. So, how do you see Vietnam now? Is in the middle? Is able to present a design which is a storytelling about Vietnam and is not caricatural?
That was why I asked the question about your impression about Vietnamese design, because you have observed over the last 4 years. Because that was my concern as well. Whenever designers or young students they approach the culture, the Vietnamese culture and heritage, and they easily fall into the trap of the norm, and they usually go with very over worn out source of inspiration. So I entirely agree with Toàn about there's actually the border is blurring nowadays, and let's not just approach Vietnamese audience or foreign audience. I think with good design we can approach global citizens, because global citizens are the ones who are intellectual, and they are willing to pay for good design if the story is good enough. So I don't think about border as a national border.
Absolutely. So Roberto, based on these comments, meaning contemporary design is for global citizens, and you need to be able to create this design. Italy apparently is still able to do so, maybe because we're still able to attract talents as Toan was mentioning, is we don't have Italian. Of course, we have Italian designers, but we have an industry, a design industry, which is able to attract talents. And you know better than I do, because we are both Italians, that this happens not in so many sectors. We are not able to attract talents in many industries, in many manufacturing sectors. But design, still we are. So what are, in your opinion, and I will ask Toan as well eventually, the factors for which Italy is still so able to attract international talents in its industrial design industry?
It's due to the fact that the culture of the Italian people, the Renaissance, what's happened, the culture of the beauty, the base in the 60s of the industrial design, because at that period the design was the industrial step to move from handcraft made, extreme 100% handcraft made, to industrial industries working on the design in order to do new product, maintain the functionality, reduction of the price, the industrial cost became democratic because automatically went to the market more available for a wide area of the societies. So probably this is a fundamental and this basement of the culture, industrial, the first country where the design was studied and the masters, as we had and we have, Enzo Mari, Sozzas, among all design university, design school are the main pillar of the culture of the design. So Italy became automatically so attractive to go to study in the European industrial design in Milano or in Bologna or in every part of Italy, because the culture is recognized and the basement of the industrial design and the design itself is there. Ferrari as the Pininfarina, if we are talking about the automotive sector. The design has the major Italian manufacturer according the furniture, independently of the brand, but Fortuna Frau, Cassina. Cassina has been the history of the design, using the international name as Le Corbusier in the past. So today, the promised land to learn the design. But I think that is necessary in the globalization is very, very important. Create a mix, because thanks to new culture. I remember that I invite one Swedish designer to design for Fortuna Frau a product. The first, without brief, but ask her to design something having some details belong to her culture. The same for District 8. District 8 or the new company, I visited also the second company belong to Darren, unavailable. I recognize the same passion, the same well-organized phases, manufacturing phases. But thanks to this way, it's necessary to export and teach the new market coming from I say I'm an Italian, I'm not a Vietnamese, but today it's very easy to say it's necessary to export the Vietnamese culture in order
You have some problem with Roberto. Okay. No, I will pass the floor to Toan on the same question. Toan, what do you think? Why you opened the studio in Milan? I mean, it might be an obvious question to you guys, and maybe it's less obvious here.
Yeah, the question of my the opening the office in Milan is only because actually I define myself as a French guy. So when there is a World Cup, I'm supporting a French team and not the Italian one. But I'm an Italian designer.
Anyway.
But I'm an Italian designer because I spent more than 26 years here. So I have very few years of experience abroad, and mostly my experience is in Italy. And this is where I collect, and I learned a lot of things in making furniture products in Italy. So coming back to the original question about the roots and the origin, I will start with a very serious approach. I'm not sure it's the right way, but I had the perception that actually the three countries strong in design were the country which were together in the Second World War, no? So I mean, Germany, Italy, Japan. And strangely, after and they failed during this war, so it's not because of the failure, it's because probably there is a factor also about rebuilding the country, rebuilding ourselves, finding some lines, some directions. So maybe it's some hope about what is with the situation we're living now. But Italy, I think, has always been, and each country has made this evolution in a different way. Germany in a different way than Italy. What is, I think, very specific in Italy is it's a very pragmatic country. So when I arrived, like many designers, foreign designer in Milan, all the Italian designers are architects. Now, this is a culture to be architect. But there were very few things to build since the Second World War. So the pragmatic side is most of the most of this architect became designer, and put all the energy, the idea on Piaggio, Vespa, all this new company which were a little bit innovative, but a lot also of design, because maybe there was not the technology, there were somewhere else. So it has to be, what can we do with our own force? And this is what still is in the culture of Italy. It's very pragmatic. There is no steps. No, it's not when I work, for example, in US, we do a meeting, and the meeting everybody on the computer taking notes, but there is nothing happening physically. No. If we do the meeting in Italy, we test something, we look at the prototype, we move from somewhere else, we test the new sim. It's very easy, and there is not the weight of all the study, and this is making culture. And this is what has always been strong and surprised me, because my formation is product design, is not furniture design. But coming back also to what Alberto said, I just want to say that about the school, about the company. I'm more focused about the culture of the company, and this is very important, and we have to be very careful about what we've got today is not forever. So it has to be, it's important to take care about the company, the culture of the company. And today I see a little bit a gap between what is a company, which is a world of making, and the world of studying on the paper, very theoretical, because in the Italian culture, the education is not very practical. And this gap is created a little bit what happened with attracting foreigners. So this is to come back to your original question. The attraction for designers, for example, is coming from the fact that there was a lot of capability in this company, a lot of know-how, a lot of roots, but somehow we were quite welcome because we wanted to make. We had a lot of wish, we had a lot of energy, and we couldn't do it in our countries. Now, when I started working in Paris design office at that time in the mid of 90s, where 70% was driven by L'Oréal Group, so perfume, packaging, bottles, so very commercial. Italy attracted me a lot because it was making the product itself, not the packaging or the display of the packaging of the bottle of the perfume. No, it was doing exactly what is the perfume, no? And what we're doing, you're sitting on a chair. It's not virtual, it's real. But it's something that we really have to care about, and in education especially, as to think that if there is this gap of communication between the education words, the designer coming from the school, and the brand and the company, it could create a problem. But the problem is resolved at the same time, because we're living in a world where it's global, and it attracts a client from everywhere in the world, and also designer. So when I arrived in Milan, we were a huge foreigner community working in all the design office. And this is what makes today the second, probably the design in Italy is still very alive, because it's a mix of culture, local culture, pure Italian culture, and what probably all the foreigner brought to this culture in terms of design. And this is why the vision, I think, is much more mature. We should not to make a fight or a competition between Italy and Scandinavian or German, but it's at a level that Italian is not only because it's made in Italy by Italian designer and sounds like a pizza. It's really more not so simplistic, and the design is more global, probably worldwide, for this reason.
It was a very interesting comment you made about design driven by big corporations like L'Oreal, you were mentioning France, and Italy maybe more driven by smaller companies, which leads me to Vietnam, and asking if this, how to say, diffusion of manufacturers. So not only would it be one big company in Vietnam leading the way to quality design? Might be VinFast with the cars, with the automotive industry, might be some other big group, or will Vietnam follow the same path of Italy with many different brands leading to their own company culture and leaving space to design creativity?
Well, I would think that the different makers have a certain signature. So, like each different factory, they produce in a certain style, and I think there is some opportunity for build something unique. But I think the big driver here might be the property development. With Vietnam growing, hotels being made, much more developments. It'd be nice that those companies and those designers support local, and yeah.
Right. What's your feeling?
Well, after all, we are a socialist country. So
Like Italy, I mean, it's the same. Like I always joke about it.
Yes, I totally agree about the biggest challenge now is how to properly make all of the design that we create from the smaller firms. I know, and I observe some of the smaller design studio over the last few years, and I've seen them making impressive prototypes. But from that until you have something that is sellable on the market, they need people like Darren and Quang and many of the furniture makers in here with strong and background history in actually manufacturing in large quantity with like the industrial processing system. I really think we need to bridge that gap.
Okay, thank you. Well, it was a very stimulating and interesting conversation. It's time maybe to open the floor to questions to our speakers from the audience here in presence. So please feel free to ask questions, and let's stimulate the conversation again. Anyone? Don't be shy.
Okay.
Please, please.
Hi. So I'm Ken. I'm currently a designer.
Can you hear him?
Not too much.
Maybe you should either speak up louder or nearby the mic.
So I'm currently working for a furniture factory that always been manufacturing, contracting to be exact. So I was hired in a way to handling a new department in the company, which involves more with designing new furniture. And the segment that's always been interested for me is always to aiming for my group of generation, the millennials, because logically, for me, like I felt more related to catering a certain design for my age group and generation. However, there is once I've been doing this process of working with designers and manufacturers and other people within the field, there is a certain what do you say, like alienation. Sometimes, like like the people within the industry or the same group of people from the millennials cannot relate it when they see the design. Sometimes they can't relate it to certain aesthetics, or once they understand, even once they're understanding, like how the items would make, and like they felt the items, but they can't really afford it to a certain extent. I don't know if it makes any sense. Like like they would, like some of them would know or like understanding designs, but they can't just afford it, or like they can't experience like the piece of furniture in a way. And I wonder, like as a designers, especially Mr. Conlin or Mr. Darren, like what would a designer do in order to closing like the gap between a new generations of designers and consumers and the current state of design?
Very crucial question. Ton, have you heard about this
Yes,
question?
I did. So I don't know if Darren will start, otherwise I can start to talk. No, it's a difficult question. It's also, again, it's case by case, and it's really difficult to be dogmatic and to give some sentence which resolve everything. But I can understand the point. My point is everything now, which in my approach for many different reasons. And one of the reasons is nobody is interested to have design for the future and not even for the past. No, it's for today. So it has to take in consideration a lot of factors, how the people are living. But again, the design should not be disconnected to the usual world and the way of people living. Otherwise, it's just something that you look at the window, like going to Place Vendôme and you see the shops, and it's like it's for someone else. No, and I like the ideas that in the affordable in terms of price, but also in terms of product. No, the product I design can touch most of the people and not defined by some specific area of some niche market. So yes, again, it's case by case, and my reference point are more the product which change a little bit the life, not mine, but in the culture of Italy, for example, or Japan or US. No, the product which became really part of the lives of the people. In France, we have the Raymond Loewy culture, and Raymond Loewy was a French guy moving to US, and he started to make the shops windows, and he started to design. And after, there is a funny story about the life of a normal American guy, which is every 3 minutes in contact with something that he designed, from the cigarettes to the Coca-Cola to the car to the train, whatever. when you you arrive at this point, this is obviously the ideal of a designer. So the ideal of design, and this is where the discussion with the company, with the people, especially when you work in a different culture than yours, is essential. It's not bringing a design to in any way without any reference to where it is, what is the destination. So my I try to design in a specific context, but but I cannot make a Vietnamese design for Vietnamese people who want only some specific thing. So it has to bring something that we in common, like you can like the experience that people live like in the hotel. No, if you go in an hotel, you live an experience, but it doesn't mean that it's designed for niche market. It's designed because the bottle of water is made a certain way, the packaging of a chocolate is made in a specific way, the sake bottle, everything is made with, its design is not an activity disconnected to the world of living. Design is thinking of the object, to me.
Absolutely. Any other comment on this question?
It's covered up.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
Any other?
Sorry, I would like to add something else. Talking about the new generation, the millennium, this generation, I don't know say if fortunately or unfortunately, but I think that they are fast eater. So they want immediately what they want touch immediately. They recognize the product if it's good or not probably in 2 seconds. And the company and the designer have to be following the own perspective. In the company, I recognize the mission, the vision and the mission in order to recognize where the company would like to go. If they want to be closer to the new generation, it's necessary to create a communication with them and able to create storytelling, but not too much deep or too much, sorry if I say too much cultural, but it's necessary to be involved, the new generation inside the feeling. So when you talk, you have to explain why the product has been made or has been thought. And in this way, probably a fast eater recognize that the product that having in front of himself represents something else, not just a chair or an armchair or a piece of something else. They love the iPhone because it is immediately, they recognize the simplicity of the shape. But at the same time, it's necessary to invite the people talking about for the new generation is very sensible about the sustainability, the eco design. Depend if the product, the manufactured product following the ecosystem approach. They would use FCC in order to reforest the wood used. This is a matter that the new generation loves to hear from the company.
Okay, talking about this, Roberto, you touch upon there is a question from someone who is looking us in streaming, Mr. Richard Stratmatter, who is asking how important should we consider sustainability, materials and processes in Vietnam? So I should ask either Darren or Tom.
I think sustainability is important for all brands going forward. Like one of the main things for our collection is we haven't used any local timber, just because we aren't sure of the source. I think going forward, everyone cares about the environment. We're the timber came from, how much trash we're creating. For us, from District A, the quality was built around sustainability as well. Is we're not building the disposable furniture. This is something that's really important going forward.
Okay, maybe I have the obvious question, maybe, which is perhaps less obvious here than it is in Milan. But how the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the design in general, industrial design, according to your experience? Maybe Tuan, you want to address this question? In your experience?
Yes, but first of all, it changes the fact that you're sitting on a chair where I could not sit, so an armchair, and
Yes, definitely.
and so it generated a lot of frustration, a lot of difficulty to work on product because, as I mentioned before, I'm a generation, my generation, and my approach of design is making, feeling, touching, sitting and try things. And during the last year, I did everything virtually to the people, not sharing things. And video is yes, it's a way. It's the only way we can have to, but this is not the same. And this is what happened. In general, in general, for industry or for design and for the company in furniture or whatever, it created a situation very unstable now because it was we had very low activity during some months and it's starting very crazy after summer and loading down and starting again very crazy. So it's becoming really frenetic and sometimes it's important that we this experience of COVID in a way helped everybody to make some choice to re-clean things and to made yes everything a second start. At the same time, there is some illusion of super profitable things to do and very pragmatic, do something for COVID oriented. So it's really a lot of confusion, and I think it's a more difficult path to arrive to focus really on what is really makes sense in general, and not because of COVID, and not because it's the right moment, because we missed something. So yes, it's created a lot of difficulties. So yeah, there is probably very good things because we have to rethink. Everybody have to rethink about his life and his work. But it's and we need to study better. But it's obviously it's a difficulty. It's a difficulty, and there is no other way to say it. And also exchanging with the team, the people. We were working from home, and for me, honestly, it was a nightmare to work on the screen with my designer team, each one and not touching, not having print scale 1-to-1 models, things like that, touching furniture, cushions, and so on. So yes, for design part, it's difficult.
Maybe the consequent question would be, what is going to last after this COVID pandemic in design industry? So because you said, okay, we are now all in a hurry because you were thinking about creating something reasonable or profitable with the COVID. But people, you also mentioned rightly that people is more attentive to experience, to make some choice in life. So what would you think will last after this pandemic for a creative designer and for a brand as well? I would ask that as well.
The question is for me, as for
you? It's for you.
That's very difficult to say because I would like to answer to this question when it's over and we've got it already back and we can re-clean and
fair
see
enough.
it's.
Okay, it's fair enough.
So,
what do you think?
I agree. I don't think anyone can tell what is going to happen. I think the only thing that is sure is the workplace is going to change. I think everybody is saying that people will still work remote. Maybe offices are going to change. That's the only thing that is a sure thing.
Absolutely. Any other question from the audience? Kathy, please.
So my name is Kathy, and I have the great fortune of representing issue 8.
Please speak up loud, please.
In Vietnam, we have my own home. And I'd like to ask Roberto a question. Because
Roberto, are you with us?
Roberto's not here.
He's not here. Okay, so Darren and Gone can help explain this. I understand that for the design process, both form and functions are very important, and I think this now asks very interesting questions about how you know, designing something that you personally designer like, as well as for the end users. So I'd like to ask a little bit about, in your professional views and for developing digital collections, how do you balance between form and functions, and does one come at the expense of the others?
Well, I could start in some way, because I think the opening brief for this collection was more about the function. We were looking for a collection that, you know, is modular. You know, I think we laid out the brief like that, and then the form came afterwards. So, yeah, I think the two things go together. Initially the brief was about the actual function of the product, and then from there you can work out the form. The same thing like a chair. You have a chair, you're designing a chair, you're thinking about its function first, and then the form comes later.
Well, the reason why I'm asking this question is because I noticed that in the Italian tradition, it seems that the focus on fashion, on being very well designed, is highly valued versus some other school designs. You know, so and because we have some time work together, so I've noticed that in the last 10 years since HA has been around, there's a very strong focus on design. And since Roberto come aboard now, and also perhaps, and I know we have this in our showroom, it's really comfortable to sit on the collection. So, and I was wondering, you know, how do you balance those elements?
I think this is a crucial question for every designer, right? How to balance, you know, functionality and aesthetic, right? For the steel collection. Roberto, the question was originally for you. If you can hear us, don't be shy. Come up again. No, we lost him. I mean, it's too difficult.
Roberto is doing a little bit what my son is doing during the lessons at school, web lessons.
Okay.
When it's up to him, he disconnects.
So please, Toan, would you take over? Do you mind?
Yeah. Okay. But regarding the balance, I think it's first of all, I said I'm not originally a furniture designer, but I become also a furniture designer, and I believe that a good chair, comfortable sofa is not by force the perfect sofa that would be successful. But for sure, if it's not comfortable, there is no chance. It doesn't have any reason to exist because we don't need another sofa, especially if it's not comfortable. So in Stilt, I think the briefing was bringing probably from the briefing of Darren and Roberto was bringing some elements which were part of District 8. The wood was strong when I saw the company, when I saw the production of District 8. So I think it makes sense to have a very important wooden structure visible, a little bit like it was made in maybe in the past in the vintage product. But I didn't want to make a vintage design. But it was I think it was very important from the beginning that the comfort would be perfect, and it would be also a way to show the capability of District 8 to move very forward in the upholstery world. Taking some good points from Italy, but after, I mean, living by itself and really not completely autonomy very quickly. So everything was really absorbed, but I mean, there is no really, the product is, it's really difficult, to be honest, to see now the development of the product in Italy and what it is in Vietnam. You don't see the difference. I could not say the same for other places or the country. So.
Roberto, do you have any comment on that? You're still disappearing. Okay. Any other question from the audience? Please. We have two questions. Please. Ladies first. Go.
So my name is Hope. How are you doing? I have a question for Darren. As you mentioned that developers' role in making the design community, the local community thrive is very important. Can you elaborate on that? Like, what can developers do more for the design community?
I think that, well, thanks for the question. But I think that developers, I think the main thing that they could do is protect Vietnamese design. The problem we have, and we've had in the past, is that designer will spec our product into a project, and then the project goes to tender, and somebody ends up copying our product. This is sad to see, like, not only for the local company, but maybe even the international companies that are also in the same spec. I think that Vietnam and the developers need to, protect design. We are working on some projects at the moment in Europe, and yes, we are producing for international designers, but they were paid for the project, and it was an agreement. So it's really important, I think, that the designers respect and pay for the design.
Well, that's a very interesting point. I was about to ask even before, but since it came out, the question to you: do you believe Vietnam could still could be a little less, how to say, embraced by international designers or international brands in design because of these some issues in protection of copyrights or intellectual property or the patenting system in Vietnam?
It's getting better, but that's a fact. But it's getting better. Well, from my observation, and thanks to collaboration like you did with Toàn, and hopefully more to come along the way, we will, gradually change the protection. Yeah.
So, because Darren was mentioning the developers in the role of creating a mindset and a culture of before saying protecting, actually cheering up design, or like cherish design as a contribution to creativity as a whole. So it's before the authorities, it should be a culture of protecting creative industry in general.
And it also goes back to our job as the media and communicator.
Correct. Yes, exactly. So that is pretty important. There was another question, I think, please.
Yeah. My name is Yudam, and I've been listening to the whole story, and one of the things that Jung said about prototype to a mass, produce, and still keeping the same quality of the prototype. And as a sculptor myself, sometimes I find that it's very difficult to make something here that at a high quality. And sometimes I have to go back to California to do it and bring it here. And when you confront, the local skilled workers in Vietnam, is a very difficult thing because they, at least the one I encountered, they don't really aim for, the best quality that I might want, or you guys might want. And I haven't heard about that here, but more than a rosy picture about how great, the Vietnamese craftsmanship can be, which I'm hoping, and I'm still hoping for that. And so my question is, how can we make that? And I'm sure that Darren knows, and I see other good stuff, so I just want to know how you bridge that gap.
I hear what you're saying, because I think it's taken us 10 years to learn the craft and teach a team to really appreciate the quality. I think some of the problems that we see here is, the level of care but it's also how we talk about the workers. You know, like in the factories, everyone's broken into unskilled and skilled labor. Skilled labor is, you know, like in Europe, you have artisans, and they're really revered for their hand skills and quality and what they can do. I think Vietnam has to get to that point where, you know, you respect what the artisans are doing, pay for it in a way where, or like support it in a way where it's worthwhile for them to, you know, share it to the next generation or teach somebody else. Our biggest problem is, you know, people not collaborating and not teaching the skills to other people in the factory. This is a big problem that we have and try to overcome. You know, yes, I think that Vietnam has challenges behind quality, but you've got to look at things like, or countries like Japan, where they really respect the makers, and everybody is looking for the quality. And you know, I think it's really important that there's factories like us, like AA, like that are, you know, pushing for this quality in Vietnam, and you know, educating workers. Yeah, I think that we just have to be able to pay for it. And you know, if we're just making price point product in the market, there is no drive for quality. There has to be, you know, multiple levels in the market with different skill sets.
Very true.
I'd like to add something else. Sorry. For example, since it's very important, the way of the product from designer to the production, the phase of the prototype is very important, because the prototype represents the first approach and translate the drawings into the real product, and is possible to do in a couple of ways. One, I reproduce exactly what the designer thought. The other one is try to understand what the designer want to reach, but at the same time looking for a construction of the prototype, not just for live today or 1 week. It's necessary to create a prototype having a future vision to the production. So during the design phase, the technical design phase, including the shop drawings for the future suppliers or looking for exactly materials, we are more. District State is using very rich, high-quality materials, oaks coming from Europe, leather coming from Sweden. And this case is very important in order to maintain the quality in the manufacturing phases. Teach and educate the people working the line in order to maintain the same quality. And the quality of the prototypes is very, very important because it represents the test table to match the mass production versus the prototype. This is very, very, very important.
Thank you for your comments, Roberto. Any other question?
Back to the copyright issue. So I think in Vietnam, one of the things to make all the designer become very disappointed because nobody protect the design. It's not only Vietnam. May I ask Fan Nguyen about his design? How he protect the design if they have a copy from China? What he do?
Come on, what do you do if Chinese copy your design?
But first, the first point is strangely is quite happiness, because it means that you make something which is which made sense and made sense to be copied. So you didn't move only the people and team of your company bringing a product on the market. It has an impact and visibility and makes sense to be copied. Obviously, in terms of design, it's difficult to protect design, and I know a lot of companies in Europe who do not even do any patent because they don't believe it will protect anything. So after all my product on the market, I under contract with the company. So by contract, the company takes as the legal aspect of this issue, and we support it. But how we can, the company, to make if there is any controversy, we support the company to demonstrate things and with documentation. It happened quite recently with Vibia, the Spanish company. We did some lighting, and it was very copied by clearly competitors of our clients. So we demonstrated that we show the product just after the show, because the other part, they wanted to demonstrate that the product was already showed on the internet before, and so it means that there was no copyright anymore. So there is no, I mean, again, it's really something that we reflect with the company. It's usually a move. The first move is the company, my clients, doing the first move, and we support as we can the company to move forward. Obviously, if they see a change to win. So it's not so much, unfortunately, not so much on a question of if we're right or if you're wrong. It's a question also of if it makes sense locally, geographically, if the company is copying is big, whatever. And it happened in China, but it's happened everywhere. So I just want to mention that it happened in Europe, it happened in North America, and it can happen also in the company itself. No, sometimes it happened that the company copy your design when it's your own client with other products. So, I mean, this is a problem for our designer, but we have to live with that, and there is no solution.
Good. We still have some comments from people looking at this conversation in live stream. There's Miss Margherita Cesca Nelder Haynes, who's asking what can be done to better promote and celebrate Italian design. I would take these questions, Roberto, if you don't mind, because I think she probably refers to Vietnam, and I would say that this is a celebration partially of Italian design.
Exactly.
We are having, not because we are having in my place, but because we are discussing with two people from Milan, because Milan, we have seen that Italy, of course, it's difficult to escape Italy, let's put it this way, if you talk about design, let's put it this way. So, but we will still keep doing our job to promote and celebrate Italian design. So I want to reassure Miss Margherita that we will keep doing these kind of events where Italian design is in a way celebrated, or at least is in the middle of the conversation. Any other question from the audience? Because I give myself the commitment to close at 5:30, and it's 5:30 Vietnam time. So I'm really sorry that we cannot invite Toan and Roberto to join us for drinks.
Of course, as usual.
So we talk about the Italian design, but Swiss time.
Yeah, exactly. So a big round of applause to our speakers, Toan Nguyen, Roberto Arghetti.
Thank you.
And Toan Nguyen.
My pleasure.
For being with us and for animating this absolutely stimulating debate, at least for me. And I hope to see you very soon in presence, either in Italy or in Vietnam. And meanwhile, I wish you a very happy Christmas, and definitely better 2021 than 2020.
For sure.
So thank you again.
Thank you to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I invite you all to join us on the terrace, because we will have food and wine, Italian food and wine. So please.
Roberto, non ti preoccupare, assaggio io.
Enjoy.
Esatto.
Enjoy. Thank you. Thank you.
Enjoy, yes. Enjoy for us.
It's aperitivo time in Milan, right?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Bye.